Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, we are talking the La Roche-Posay serums. Now, the serum collection from La Roche-Posay is currently the most heavily marketed skincare product online. They're pumping millions of dollars, euros, and pounds into promoting this range of 4 serums, and they're also doing an awful lot of brand trips and sponsorships with influencers, which means you're going to hear a whole lot about these serums in the next couple of months. I was initially quite intrigued by them. They're colourful, they're appealing, they make you want to gravitate towards them. But the more we know, the more we realise actually this is just overpriced and poorly formulated skincare. I want to break this apart for you in today's video, so if you are tempted to, dip your toe into the world of the La Roche-Posay serums, you do so knowing exactly what you're getting for your hard-earned coin. Sit back, relax, let's talk the La Roche-Posay serums. Now, before we get into this video, I would love to know what your own thoughts, feelings and opinions are when it comes to the La Roche-Posay serums. Have you used any of them? What outcomes and results did you get? These are just my thoughts, feelings and opinions throughout this video, and I would love to hear yours, so sound off in the comments section below. Whatever your thoughts on these serums, if you want to help me to get this message out there loud and clear, the best way to do that is by reaching down and giving this video a thumbs up and a like. The more likes a video gets, the more widely YouTube will distribute it on its platform, so it's just a wonderful way of making sure that everyone knows about these serums and exactly what they're getting if they do decide to reach for it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. Now, without further ado, shall we just cut that waffle and delve straight on in? So let's kick things off with an overview of La Roche-Posay as a brand themselves. Well, they were bought out some time ago by the L'Oreal group, and it's thanks to that buyout that I think we have these serums in our lives. Before the buyout, they really focused down on simple yet hyper effective formulations. It was all about the calming, the soothing, using the thermal spring waters of the La Roche-Posay area to really deliver some great benefits in terms of hydration and relief from irritation and inflammation in the skin. They really prided themselves on being like simplistic but hyper effective, and they came at really affordable price points. They were like a staple of the French pharmacy scene for decades, and they definitely had their fangirls and those devotees that would use an exclusive La Roche-Posay skincare line. Since the L'Oreal buyout, we've seen some newer ingredients incorporated. Their skincare line has exploded, and they've really harnessed the power of some of their best selling products to release new versions of it. This is all alongside this suite of new serums, which when they hit the market definitely caught the eye. L'Oreal know how to market products effectively, and they used eye-catching colours, titles, descriptions and marketing to really promote this range of serums. You've probably seen quite a lot of adverts for it online anyway. It's pretty difficult to actually escape it, and whilst you might first want to gravitate towards them because of those marketing claims and the appealing nature of the products, I want to share my thoughts, feelings and opinions with each of these serums, so hopefully you know a little bit more about them, their formulations and how they're actually going to deliver for your skin. So let's kick things off with the Hyaloo B5 serum. This is a hyaluronic acid based serum that the brand says will hydrate the skin for 24 hours after application and give you that instant plumping that I think we all secretly crave. This commands a price point of £32 here in the UK, which is roughly €35 and whatever the dollar equivalent of that will be. Now it's worth bearing in mind with all these serums, the price does vary quite wildly depending where in the world you happen to be purchasing it, so I've left some links in the description box below. If you use them, it'll take you to the exact price point wherever you happen to be shopping from, so you can really make an informed decision when it comes to the cost. Whatever the exchange rate happens to be, these are fairly pricey serums, and hyaluronic acid isn't that expensive to formulate with. In here you have an unknown concentration of that hyaluronic acid, though I imagine it'll be between 2 and 3% because that's fairly standard across the industry. You also have some calming and soothing ingredients such as madecassoside, which is nice to see, but again I don't think justifies that sky high price point. If you compare this to the ordinary hyaluronic acid, which you can buy for £8, you're paying 4 times the amount for what is a very similar formulation. I actually think in 2 ways the ordinary is actually a better formulated hyaluronic acid than this one will ever be. First up, denatured alcohol is actually number 2 on the ingredients list. So denatured alcohol, a lot of people do a lot of fear mongering around, and it's not the devil of an ingredient that a lot of people would have you believe it is. However, if used in a relatively high concentration, it can strip and dry the skin. My skin type is super oily and acne prone, but using the Roche-Posay Anthelios UV Immune 400 sunscreen, which has a similar concentration of denatured alcohol, really started to impact the hydration levels in my skin after just a couple of days worth of use. I had to discontinue that because it was just too stripping and too drying, and I think you will run run the risk of the same thing happening with consistent use of this serum. It's also got fragrance in here. Now again, I don't think fragrance is as bad for the skin as some people would have you believe it is. But if you have a very sensitive skin type, the amount of fragrance in here could be problematic, particularly when you team it with that denatured alcohol. I'm personally not the biggest fan of the scent that comes with this serum. Now of course, scent is a very unique experience and I think different people will love this, others might dislike it. It's all going to come to personal preference. For me with this one, I would question, why would you be paying 4 times the amount the ordinary are charging for a very similar formulation that's actually worse in 2 key ways? The risk of increased irritation with that fragrance and the risk of increased dehydration to the skin with that denatured alcohol. I don't think either of those ingredients are needed or necessary in this, and the marketing which goes around this and La Roche-Posay promotes saying it's super applicable to sensitive skin types, that they've worked with dermatologists, that this is skin friendly, I've seen used in one of those ads. All those terms to me indicate that this is applicable for every skin type on planet Earth, when actually I think if you have a very sensitive or dryness prone skin type, there are so many better options at a fraction of the cost than what you'll get with this hyaluronic acid serum. Now let's come on to the pure vitamin C10 serum. This is a vitamin C serum in its pure form of ascorbic acid with a 10% concentration. So I love the transparency, you know exactly what you're getting in terms of concentration, which I wish is something they've done for the rest of the serums. This also costs £32 here in the UK, whatever the dollar equivalent of that would be, which whilst that is still very much on the higher end of what I personally would pay for a vitamin C with some great drugstore options, I always think, you know, if you're getting a little bit more, I don't mind paying more when it comes to vitamin C's for my skincare routine. With this though, you're just not getting anything that you couldn't already get at the drugstore. That 10% ascorbic acid is a nice mid-strength product. You'll definitely get some great results in terms of bringing back vibrancy, luminosity to the skin, and over time it will help fade dark spots and discoloration. However, vitamin C is inherently unstable. It oxidizes really quickly, which means a vitamin C serum will have a relatively short shelf life. Because you're paying a higher price for this, I expected the formulation to include some stabilizers that can delay the oxidative process. That means you can get a longer use of the vitamin C that you try, but there's nothing in here that will deliver that. So this is going to oxidize the same way that a really inexpensive $6 drugstore vitamin C will, and I think that's a little bit disappointing. Also, the packaging isn't the best. You know, a lot of higher end vitamin C's will come in airless pumps, and that's because, again, it'll offset the risk of that oxidation. The minimum contact with oxygen, the better when it comes to pure and active forms of vitamin C, and the fact this is just in a dropper bottle, again, something you can get at the ordinary for a fraction of the cost, means I just don't think they've put any additional thought into the formulation or the packaging, yet they're commanding a higher price point. You have the same issue when it comes to ingredients as what we had with that hyaluronic acid serum. This contains denatured alcohol and fragrance, which for the same reasons as I said with that hyaluronic acid serum, I probably would avoid. I think it's even greater issue when it comes to vitamin C because ascorbic acid can be pretty irritating on the skin. It can also trigger some dryness in certain skin types. So why would we pair it alongside denatured alcohol, which is going to exacerbate that dryness, and fragrance, which again could increase the irritation? I think, you know, from a brand like La Roche-Posay, I just expected a little bit more, and I think this is definitely moving away from their original core ethos of being gentle, things to calm and soothe the skin. There's nothing really about that in this, and I think there are just some better formulated, cheaper alternatives on the market. Then we come on to their Retinol B3 serum. I think this is probably the best selling of all the ones. It's certainly the ones that people fangirl most about. However, I think this is probably the worst of the whole collection. So let's start with that core ingredient, retinol. They don't give you a percentage, a concentration, so you have no idea what you're actually reaching for or using on your skin. From a lot of anecdotal experiences from people have shared with me, they don't get a whole lot of irritation or sensitivity from this retinol, even those that are first-time users, which implies it's probably in a relatively low strength, because there's nothing in this ingredients list that will be used to offset the risk of any of that irritation, dryness and sensitivity, quite the opposite. So whilst they're not transparent, I would guess that this is a relatively low concentration of retinol, and you're probably not going to see that many great results, particularly when, again, this costs £32, which is a relatively high price point for what is a drugstore French pharmacy retinol, when you can get some better products at a fraction of the cost. This also contains those same problematic ingredients of denatured alcohol and fragrance, which again, I'm sad to see in a retinol, because like vitamin C, this ingredient can be quite drying and quite irritating on the skin. So why would you deliberately include ingredients that could exacerbate those side effects when actually you should be formulated with ingredients to counteract them? This is pretty lazy in terms of formulations, and seeing that denatured alcohol appear in each single serum means that you're going to get that compounded effect of using it. If you bought all of these serums serums and use them back to back in your skincare routine, you're definitely going to see that denatured alcohol really eat into the hydration levels of the skin, and potentially that fragrance creates some irritation. If you just used one of these serums and then shopped elsewhere for the rest of your routine, you probably will be okay, but it's all going to come down to your individual skin type, and I definitely won't be pairing denatured alcohol and fragrance with a retinol that I used in my skincare routine. Why would you run the risk, and why would you want some increased risk of side effects for no additional benefit? Finally, when it comes to this serum, they actually include two different vitamin A derivatives on that ingredient list. They have retinol and they have retinol palmitate. Because they're not transparent about the concentrations you're actually getting, this again confuses the results you're actually likely to see. So retinol is a relatively potent vitamin A derivative that you can get some great results with. Retinol palmitate is pretty useless, and a lot of dermatologists you see online will say kind of avoid this when it comes to retinols because it is so gentle, it's practically ineffective. There's also a few concerns about, using it on the skin and some side effects that you can get with it, which I covered in a separate video, which I'm going to leave a link to up there. They don't give you the overall concentration or the split between these two forms of vitamin A derivative, so with this product you have no idea what you're putting on your skin, no idea of the results that you're going to get, and a potential increase in those side effects thanks to the sloppy formulation. For £32, no. You could do absolutely better than this. Now finally we have their Niacinamide B10 serum. Now this I think is probably the best of all the serums that we've covered so far. Whilst I'm not a huge fan of a standalone niacinamide serum in my skincare routine, because my skin is pretty sensitive to this ingredient, I do know a lot of people have used this and said they actually got some really good results. Niacinamide will brighten the skin over time, and it can help regulate the oil levels in the skin, which is great if, like me, have a super oily and acne prone skin type. This does again contain the denatured alcohol and the fragrance, so you need to bear that in mind for the reasons that I've already covered in this video, but it does have a nice 10% concentration of niacinamide. That's too high for me, and I would rather they formulated this in a 2 to 5% concentration, which is what most dermatologists recommend and what studies have shown will give you the maximum results with minimum side effects. However, 10% is kind of standard across the industry now, and people like myself that have a very oily skin type and can tolerate this ingredient can get really great benefits from that slightly higher formulation. The one drawback to this, alongside the denatured alcohol and fragrance, is the fact that some people do report it pills and balls upon the skin. This isn't a universal experience, but if you read the reviews, some people say it can be quite tricky to layer into your skincare routine without it balling up and creating that uneven texture on the skin. This isn't going to be for everyone, but I do think, I wanted to end on the positive. I think this is probably the best of the serums that La Roche-Posay has to offer, but honestly, it's just the best of a really bad bunch. Overall, hopefully in this video, I've shared with you the reasons why I think this is just going to be a firm pass. I think they're charging way too much for the lazy and sloppy formulations that La Roche-Posay are delivering, and I don't know why they feel the need to use denatured alcohol and fragrance in every single serum. If you use these all together consistently in your skincare routine, you're going to have denatured alcohol on fragrance, and this could lead to dryness, irritation, and sensitivity. I am not somebody that demonizes denatured alcohol or fragrance in my skincare routine. I think a little in moderation is absolutely fine. But if you were to use these products time and time again, you're just going to be seeing that exacerbation of dryness and irritation that I think we could all do without in our skincare lives. I don't think there's anything in these formulations that you can't just get at the drugstore without the need for those added ingredients. And for me, I think the price point with the sloppy formulation and the overhyped marketing means it's just a total turn off. I know a lot of influencers are going on the brand trips and being sold just how wonderful these products are, but I just wanted to film this to say, look behind all that marketing and the hype. Look at the ingredients and what you're actually getting. Is this worth the £32 that each of these serums wants to charge? Absolutely not. And I'm here to say, I just think we can do better. I would love to know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, so sound off in the comments section below. Wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well, and love your skin. Take care. Bye.